balmy shores of sunny Florida to the cold winds of Chicago and everywhere in between, you're watching the Red Wemette Show, live, coast to coast.
Hello, everybody. It is July 7th, 2025, and I still have the raspy throat. Anyway, I'm living with it. Hello, Christina. How you doing? Frank Ferrero, how you doing? Christina? Frank? Joseph? I did. I had a good 4th of July. Every Yahoo in the neighborhood was shooting a gun off, though. And I found that the Duke is not afraid of guns or gunshots. They don't bother. Mr. Hoffman, hello. How you doing, Tim? Kathleen, hello. Or Keith, excuse me. I'm sorry, Keith. I didn't mean that. Midwest Lee, Dave and Wolfie. Feedback, Phil. I used to hate Mondays, but now I made it. Now they're all right. Okay. I made them okay for you. Or I made them all right for you. Thank you. Anyway. Oh, we got some other people to say hi to. Kathleen Guerrero. Hope I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. I feel okay, but I still have this, what you call, congestion. I'm living through it. I got some medicine for it. About, I don't know if it's dust or what it is. I've got it. Jim Magnifici, how you doing? Tommy Bridges. Scott H. Yes, it is. Just another day. Yes, I did. I bought it off Amazon. Thank you, Kathleen. Okay. I've had several comments that said they didn't like me saying hi to everybody in the beginning. They said by the time we got to the media show, we didn't like it anyway, and we left. So I thought about that and said, any rate, my congestion is not news. But old news is, as you saw in the thumbnail, John Drummond. I met John in the 70s, and he was quite a guy. He was on the radio and the TV. He was on WBBM, which was Channel 2, CBS in Chicago. And also it was on WMA. No, it was WBBM radio also, I think. But he was on the radio also, which at that time was an AM station. It wasn't even an FM yet. Then eventually it went to an FM station. But I always found him to be a man of integrity. He was one of those kind of people that you don't run across every day. Talking to him was like talking to a priest. You could say anything you want to him, and he's not going to repeat it if you tell him not to. So that's separated from any of the other news people that I knew about that would turn around and say something, and maybe you let something slip, or but he would say, "Is it okay if I use that? Is it okay?" He was just, he had courtesy, he had class. But when the time came, I keep saying but when the time came, when I needed somebody from the news media in 1990, I called him up and said, "Do you want to do an exclusive interview?" And he said, "Yeah." And so at that point, I really didn't know him that well. I didn't want to know where I was at. So I gave him a location, which was at it was in Sarasota on Siesta Key or Lido Key. I forget which, but I think it was Lido Key. But I met him there, and I had a room at the Hyatt. And after I met him, we went and got some dinner. And I watched him come in at the airport. He only brought one cameraman with him. And it was one of those kind of things where I really wasn't sure of myself. And he was really very sure. He tried to make me very comfortable. He invited me out to dinner. And I said, okay. And he said, let's go to the Colombian. I went to the Colombian. He picked up the check. Or CBS did. But at least he did. I mean, he had class. So I believe he had a beer and with dinner. But we had a good dinner. It was very good. And his cameraman was there. I thought it was very interesting, the way he handled things. So he told me the next day that we would meet at the hotel. And I was a little bit concerned about that. But we did. And we met in the hotel. I had never done anything like this before. But I was doing it. The reason I was doing it is because an FBI agent told me, no way, you don't have the guts to do it. And I said, oh, okay. So when he came up to the room at the hotel, he told me, he said, pull the curtains open, wide open. And I always kept them shut because I didn't want anybody to see what was going on, no matter who was there. But I think I was up on like the 8th or 10th floor. So all you could see was the Gulf out there, or the bay. And opened the windows, it was bright, but then I turned my back into it. I turned my back towards it, and we did the interview. And he asked me a whole lot of questions. None of them were tough. A couple I had to hesitate on, but I didn't know what it was going to be like. It lasted maybe for 45 minutes, a little bit better. And then he asked me if I could do a walk down the hallway like I was leaving. And I did. And he used that interview over and over, or CBS did, over and over and over again. As soon as he got back to Chicago, bang, it was up. It was on the early edition. It was on the middle edition. It was on the late edition. And in that interview, the thing that stands out most to me is John saying, Red Wemette's, he asked me about myself, and I said, Red Wemette's very confused right now. And at the end, he said, Red hopes to come back to Chicago soon, someday. And I just laughed at that because I knew I wasn't coming back to Chicago at all. But he was very good at what he did and very entertaining. Also, he did a lot of other interviews, and I didn't know about them until later, much, much later. But I was surprised to see the shots he got with Joy Lombardo. I was surprised to see the take on the Splaggio brothers. I was surprised to see a lot of the different things that he did, because I wasn't really watching anything but him. And he was good. He was very good. As a matter of fact, when the time came, I talked to him many times over the years. And I think it was maybe 2010. I was talking to him and he said, we were talking about his books. And I said something about it. Each one of them he gave me autographed. He autographed a book. So I have each book he wrote. There's 2 of them. And I got autographed copies. But he said to me, he said, Red, you should write a book. Yes, Scott. That's the one where I'm in silhouette. I don't think it's on the intro. It's on the exit, isn't it? Or is it on the intro? It's not on this one. So he encouraged me to write a book. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, there's so much that you have to tell. And he said, someday you're not going to be here. You're going to be gone. And he said, when that happens, leave a piece of you. Leave a little bit of history. So I did. And I started writing a book. It took forever. I added, I subtracted, I added, I subtracted, and then I sent it to somebody to be edited. And then after that, it was like, it was a real problem. So I got this idiot to actually take my money and teach me the business. He really did. And it wasn't long after he lied to me about too many things. It wasn't long after he did that I took charge of my book and took it back from. I had signed over the rights and different things, and I only got a very small amount of money for actually selling it. And if I wanted to buy copies of the book, I had to buy them from him to sell them with. So I got out of that deal. I didn't try to get out of the deal. What I did was he told me he had an office on Jackson Boulevard, downtown Chicago, which wasn't true. Told me he was moving to Washington Boulevard, which wasn't true. And all this is in emails, which I still have today. But he lied to me on a couple things, more than a couple. And I called him on his lies. So I had a friend of mine track him down. And it turned out he lived in a gated community. And they went and knocked on his door. And he did get a hold of me after that. He told me he considered that a threat on his life and that he wanted out of the deal. And so I said, okay. And he told me, and I told him, I said, I had somebody else contact him. And I said, I want this, I want that. I want all the rights turned over to me. I want this, I want that. And it was done. It was all taken down. But John Drummond, when I was talking to John about it, he said, you know, Red, he said, is there anything you want from your book? And we were talking about different things I was going over. And I said, yeah. I said, I don't know, what have you got? And he had the wanted poster for Joey Lombardo that I put in the book. And he said, I'll let you use it, but you got to give it back to me. It's the only one I got. And I said, okay. And he mailed it to me, and I mailed it back to him. And I copied it, and I put it on the computer. But it was really good. Thank you, Scott. It is on the exit. You're right. At least you noticed it was there. Shannon, how you doing? I watched him all my life, too. As a matter of fact, when he first went off, it was like they brought him back for specials. And I guess they're not doing that anymore. He's fully retired. But he's coming back with this epic, really, really neat thing that he's doing. You know, he's not a spring chicken anymore. Feedback Phil. Nobody went after the scoop like Drummond. He was always on the move, live action. Yes, he was. And he is a Chicago legend. I hope he feels well too. He's a great guy. He really is. I knew it. I used to talk to his wife when I'd call his house. I would talk to his wife when he wasn't home. Carol, she would actually, engage in conversation with me. She was very friendly. And she had cancer, and eventually she passed away. It was really, it was something else. It was very hard for him, I'm sure. But Scott H., do you think the wise guys respected him too? Yes, they did. They did. If they had to talk, if they had to say anything in front of anybody, they would rather be in front of him, because he definitely wasn't the kind of person that was going to do anything to hurt anybody. He was a very honorable man. I think that's really great. He did one on my vlog. He did two of them with us. It wasn't visual. It was a radio call-in type thing. Adam Flowers and myself on my vlog. It's kind of neat. Greetings from Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you, Rico. Chicago Outfit Files. Hello, Red and all. Hello there. How you doing, guy? Remember Harry Porterfield? No, I don't. I'm sorry, George. You and Adam had great interviews with John. Yeah, we did. Anyone wants to go back and look those that never saw him, they're on my vlog. And he did. He had a lot of stories. He just kept on going. He still does. That's his personality. And I'm going to give my personal opinion. There's other people that I know that are in the news business. ABC had its Chuck Gowdy, Eyewitness News. And he recently moved over to NBC to do a special with about Sam Giancana being murdered by Tony Accardo, being the best choice or guess. But still, it's all just a guess. Nobody really knows. John is, yes, and this good question there. Yes, Bill Curtis was a great guy, really was. I only talked to him at the desk or when he was at the studio. Never talked to him at home. But Bill Curtis had Curtis Productions at that time, Curtis Studios, and he was doing all kinds of things. I mean, he was a hard guy to get to know. And John told me that he retired out to his cattle ranch, and he started buying beef, and he went in the meat business, doing very good. Rico, did John Drummond ever visit Kansas City? Yes, he did. He was at the hotel there. He stayed there for that whole trial with the skim. So he was there. He was good. Thank you, Don. There's another thing I would like to say, folks. I really appreciate everybody, worrying about different things or telling me, I hope you're doing okay, Brad, or this, everything's, I hope you're okay. Some of you people, not everybody. And it's like a question mark after it, like, are you okay? And I don't know if I'm okay or not. I'm alive. That's all that counts. We're getting a lot closer. I actually talked to somebody. I've got to drive over there and pick up a software and a unit for transponding the tapes. And I will be glad to show you more when I get it. Yes, you remembered when he anchored with Walter Jacobson. That was on, no, that was before Walter went to Fox News. He was on CBS. And I think he co-hosted, John co-hosted with him a couple times. I like Cold Case Files too, and I believe that was I forget. That was Bill Curtis. It was a Bill Curtis production, I believe. Feedback Phil sent the envelope, and you threw the book at me. I received Nobody Cares What I Did about 2 days ago. You got your book. Okay, Phil. Thank you. Signed, sealed, and delivered. That's the way they should be. It's 4:20. Well, it's 4:21 now. Okay, Jim. You're public. Jim, you'll never stop doing it. Every time I see you, you always let us know when it's 4:20. So anyway, John has been a marvelous man for a lot of people, and it's been a pleasure to know him and actually talk to him off camera. And he's been, I would say, a good friend, a nice person. You can't find people like him. Like I said, it's just it's good. It's very good. His production here, I don't know what's going to happen with it. I hope it'll be done soon, but we'll see. In 1979, during the blizzard, we got a TV from the neighborhood digging out. Both Walter and Bill actually came out to interview us. That must have been great. I'm sure you had a good time. Jim, please, or Benjamin, no name calling here. This is not the place for it. You do it again, you're out. That's it. One warning, one time. Basically, I know exactly what you're saying. It was a great time. You'll never forget it. That's the way the moments I have. I'll never forget them. And every time he interviewed me or talked to me and I was on camera or he did a story about me, it was like, it's saved. It's forever. And just like Scott H said on the trailers, it's there every time I looked at it. Did I know Eddie? No. I had he crossed my path one time. I was called out to go to Indianapolis or down that way, and he didn't like the porn shop that was there. and I was buying some things out of it, and he had bodyguards with him. And he was very quick to tell me that his father owned the 49ers, I believe, at the time. But he was he had a limo, and he tried to throw his weight around. He didn't throw around with me that much, but he did throw it around with the police. He had the police on his side. So I didn't like the guy. Eddie DePartello. I didn't think anybody bring his name up. That was a bad trip to Indianapolis that night. Ben, only a reference to the green, red. No harm. Okay. So the outro or the outtake on this thing, I don't remember exactly what it is. I'm going to take a look at it though. Yes, that is the silhouette. That's the one in Sarasota. I'll show you a picture of it real fast, folks.
The combination of the videotapes and Wemette's testimony resulted in the conviction of 2 men on extortion charges. One of them was Frank Schweiz, known in syndicate circles as the German, a feared mob terrorist and a suspect in a number of gangland murders.
He was described to me by other outfit individuals as the most feared hitman. And
that was done where I said he described me. That was done in 1990. That was a long time ago. So John's latest project, or the one that the guys are doing for him, because they're kind of producing it. I don't know where they're at on it. I really don't know him. It was a surprise to me come up. So, but as he said, I watched one of his interviews where he was looking for Sam Giancana's file. He has tons of files at home. He brought all his work home, and the videos he brought home, the footage and everything. He has a ton of footage that's on videotape. It hasn't been made into digital, but there's a lot that he has. John's a remarkable person, very remarkable. The people that he introduced or he interviewed, nobody really took a bad, no matter who they were, they didn't take a bad attitude towards them, because he never took a bad attitude towards them. Jim Jagger. Hey, Red, I learned something new today. Epstein hung himself and there was no client list. Oh, really? Okay. I don't know where you heard that, but how'd you learn it? You read it someplace? I wonder if it's true. So much of what we read today is not true. And what the problem is, as many people as we have on their handheld devices and computers, whatever, we have just about as many people out there trying to give you their version of the news. And sometimes they're not even in the same state. They're not in the same city. They're not in the same country as we are. I look up, when I find somebody new that I'm watching, I look up and I see where they're located. How I do that is I hit the main channel, the button in the corner where it shows the name. And when it takes me to that page, I look at it and it'll say more. And you can hit that more button and you see if they're located in the United States. Some people will tell the city they're in and everything else. They will do it'll tell you everything you need to know. Some people want to be very secluded, especially when they're doing AIs. They don't tell you where they're from. They don't want you to know. But I do see that some are from UK, United Kingdom. They have to put down something on their channel. And I look to see how old the channel is too. If it just started 7 months ago or 8 months ago, I don't put a lot of credit in what they have to say. I'll look back at their other videos to see if they're anything important. Anyway, that's the way I look at it, Jim. Everybody else has their own opinion. I'm very opinionated. Keith Elton. Red, do you know if John Drummond interviewed any other Chicago outfit members other than Larry Newman and Joey Lombardo? Yes, several. Several he did. He was he had a library full of them. Your VPN is set for Canada, but I'm in Illinois. Okay, Illinois, not Illinois. Gary, you son of a gun. Gary Fisher. His mother was Doris, or is Doris. You're looking great. I remember when John Drummond, he was reporting on my mother's case. Yes, and I do too. How you doing, Gary? Haven't heard from you in a while. I don't know where you're at. If you're in Vegas, or if you're on the West Coast or East Coast, or if you're in Florida. I don't know where you're at, guy. Gary's stepfather, was Paul Peanuts Panskull. And his mother is, I think she's still alive, is Doris Fisher. Gary, you have videotapes of Drummond during that time. Okay. Reporting on your mom's case, right? I'll never forget that. Gary gave me a video, showed it to me, and it's still here, but I haven't made it public, of Peanuts making Doris is alive. Your mother's alive. Okay. Dolly. Okay, buddy. You take care. I started to say he sent me a video of Paul Peanuts Panskull, that was making peppers and sausage, and he was doing an electric frying pan, and he poured the oil in, he's throwing the peppers in, he's making up a lot of peppers. And so Gary, this is a short time before he passed away, I believe, but Gary turned around and he said to him, and he said, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" And he looked at him for a minute like, "What are you, nuts?" And so he said, "I've been cooking a long time." He said, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" And he says, "In Old Town, down on Wells Street." So that was a reference to when he worked for me. He was working with Jack O'Rourke, undercover with the FBI. And at the time, he was also driving a cab, but I had him at the hot dog stand, or he called it the hot dog stand. A lot of people did. I called it Italian beef stand. Everybody knew we had beef there, but that was the way it was. Good for you to stop by, Gary. Very good. Good to see you, guy. Dan Vonovich, Red, do you believe Jimmy Hoffa is buried under the Milwaukee County? No, I do not. I do not. Lisa B. Hi, how you doing? So it was what it was. I can't answer for John Drummond on which ones. They'll probably come out in his documentary, I would think. Lisa B. Good, Rod. Hope you're well. I'm well. I just have allergies. So they say drink lots of water. That'll help. The pollen in my car is probably a quarter of an inch thick. We just have a lot of it. So anyway, folks, I don't know how many we have in the room here, how many people are watching. Maybe one of you would be good enough to tell me. And I don't know that that's true either. Lisa B, me too. They're stuck for sure. No, I'm not getting the shots for them. I did try the Zartec. I have a bottle of it right here. 49 people. That's it. 49 people. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Christina. Dave and Wolfie, thank you too. Well, folks, since we have a little bit of time, would you like to ask me any questions? Christine Morris, 50 now, jumped up. People come and people go. That's why, Bill Crowley, I just got here, so now it's 50. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Christina. You guys are great. Does anybody have any questions for me that I can answer? Of course, you can always ask me some crazy, foolhardy question. I can look like an idiot. Finally cooled off a little in Illinois. It hasn't cooled off here at all. Even though it's raining out, it's not pouring, but it's raining. The weather's in the 90s. So it's really crazy. And I'm sure some of you people are going to be very, very glad to know that's that Mr. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, has decided to run for president on the Democratic ticket. And maybe he can buy his way through. I don't know. Justin Mason, what are my thoughts about Gunnar Lindblom? My thoughts are very simple. Actually, I watched Mob Shorts. Just came out with a new video about him. It's very good. I like it. I believe it's called The Death of Gunnar. But the only thing I think about with Gunnar is, this is way back in 2016. I disagreed with him about something on the Detroit partnership. And I kind of called him on his books, because I happened to notice that they were novels. There wasn't anything that was nonfiction, and that he wrote. And he told his story about how he was in prison, and he exaggerated quite a bit on different things. But how he met his wife. She was his editor or publicist or something like that. And I had a disagreement with him, a major disagreement. He told me that fiction sells better than than nonfiction, and my book would never sell. And I explained to him that it had sold quite a bit at that time, and he blocked me on Facebook. It wasn't later than that, for some other reason, He was a very loud and boisterous man. And for some other reason, he got kicked off of Facebook. And then he went to YouTube and he started telling his long tales there. And then a lot of people just got tired of him. He made it through the pandemic. He kept talking about new productions, movies he was going to do, and all the other things. It just didn't go that way. So my thoughts on Gunnar Lindblom are very negative. Very, very negative. D. Swizzle, where's John Drummond? I hope he's at home. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Hot like in Africa. Here in Hot and humid, huh? You think it's hot and humid there? It's hot, very hot and humid in Florida, believe me. I'm up in the Panhandle. Panama City Beach. Hey, did you know that no, I didn't know that, Shannon. I didn't know anything. I don't even know the guy. I don't even know who he is. I just had a major argument with somebody on Facebook over the weekend. And he's talking about somebody that he says the guy was his stepfather. And I went and looked the guy up to find out who he was. And he was connected with somebody, but he said he was part of Tony Spilaccio's crew. Totally wrong. Totally out of it. And I talked to several people about it, and it was crazy. Dan, my thoughts on Leopold and Loeb. You know, John Drummond and I talked about that several times. I'm probably one of the few people around that actually saw Leopold get paroled. It was on TV, WGN at the time. And he went on to be an educator, went to South America, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. What did I think? I thought it was crazy. I thought it was insane. Leopold and Loeb are famous, or were famous, made famous, because they killed a neighborhood kid just to see if they could get away with it. They were doing an experiment to see if they were above the law. They came from wealthy, privileged families, and they lived in the kind of the Kenwood area of Chicago. And they were both narcissists. I don't think they really said that at that time, but their families were wealthy. So it came it's an interesting story. It's worth talking about, but I'd have to do a whole show on it. It's very interesting. It affected me in a lot of ways because I looked at, I believe it was, I'm thinking of the lawyer that defended him. I'm trying to remember his name. Wasn't it Clarence Darrow that defended him? I got to look now. Now you got me. Wow. They call it the murder of the century. 14-year-old Bobby Franks. It was cold-blooded murder. I thought for sure that they should have been executed. But Loeb was killed in prison. And Leopold made it out of prison. He got paroled. And at that time, I kind of thought it was crazy too, until I saw his condition. But it was crazy. Clarence Darrow was the attorney. I thought I was right. I just thought I'd check it, folks. Clarence Darrow was the attorney. It was crazy. A very, very bad thing. We're getting weather reports in South Carolina. It's 102. Wow. Spartanburg. Nice city. I like that place. Scott H. 93 in Central Florida. I thought you were on the coast. Oh, on the East Coast of Central. Did Marshall Cafano have an Italian accent? No, he did not, Justin. He did have a way that he spoke that was distinctive. He reminded me of Peter Lorre. And if you don't know who he is, it's very difficult. He spoke in a very quiet voice. I'm trying to mimic him. Kind of hard. John Drummond was good with all Faye Flynn and so forth. Yeah, the anchors that he helped. He pitch hit too. Jim Jager, hey Red, I read your argument with the guy on Facebook over the weekend. That was crazy. No more crazy than when he told me that he once tried to rob a casino in Las Vegas by taking dynamite on him. And he was arrested and he went to jail. When he told me that, I looked for clippings and everything else. I couldn't find it. And I don't know who the guy is, but he wrote several books and he is trying to sell them. And I'm kind of negative about things that are not true. People are putting stuff out that is definitely not true. One thing that I talked about is he went and what he did was he used Frank Calabrese's name as a reference. He said they grew up together. And that kind of set me off right there. Frank's own brother, Kurt Calabrese, says he embellishes. And he says worse. He said he's just a plain liar. His wife, ex-wife, Lisa, she wrote a book, and I bought a copy of it. But I watched her interviews with Cam when he was with us, and she talked about him quite a bit, and she had a lot to say. And people said, "Oh, well, he did that," and she would just laugh and say, "You're kidding me." He never did anything. I guess he told him to go on food stamps. He never took care of his family, and the amount of money it wasn't $500,000 like he said in his book. It turned out to be closer to $1 million, and maybe more than $1 million, according to Kurt Calabrese. He was supposed to be watching the money that he allegedly took to go into other businesses, but a lot of it went into cocaine money, from what they say. Just the way it was. So maybe I'm a fool for even arguing with these people. I really don't know. I just look at it different. Since I lived in Old Town, did you go to Carson's Ribs on Wells? Yes, I did. Chris Carson supposedly knew Frank the German. Yes, he did. And everybody else on the street did too. Frank was well known at the fireplace, and no matter where he went. Orso's, we went there. several times. Matter of fact, I was at Carson's on Wells with Frank Schweiss once. We usually went to Orso's. The news reported that whole thing wrong because they said, fed up with extortion. He did this, he did that. No, it wasn't because of that. There were a lot of other personal reasons, but I had been an informant since August of 1971. That was just shortly after Tony had gone out to Las Vegas. And we used to hang out together at that time, Tony and Tony Splaccio and Frank Schweiss and Milwaukee Phil, all of us, we all hung out. And it was different time, different era. I believe at the time, I'll get back to your question here to get your name up there. Barba. I believe at that time, Schweiss also owned the Plug Nickel right down the street. I don't know what you're saying. Did you ever meet David Yars? No, I didn't. Am I keeping up with what's happening in Las Vegas? I remember that the guy who reported from, I heard him say hotels are closing, money now. Have you heard why? The mob is gone from there. I assume, Gary, you're not out there. But believe it or not, as things are closing and regenerating in Vegas, Las Vegas, what's happening is it's recycling. They're opening up new places. They're dumping more money into them. They're just, it's crazy. It really is. Actually, I talked to Adam. Adam lives out there. And he usually tells me what's going on. He moved, he's still in Las Vegas, but he moved from the inner city to kind of a little further out. It was getting a little rough. I try to keep up with it as much as I can, Gary. Did Frank S. pick up the tab? Jim, I don't know who Frank S. you're talking about. Are you talking about Frank Schweiss? Okay. Did he pick up the tab? Always. Always. But usually didn't have a tab for us. Every place that we went into, they usually give it to Frank on the house and they say, take care of the waitress, take care of the waiter, whatever, something like that. Always somebody else paid. I never paid. I'd reach for my pocket, but they say, put your money away. Dave Grimpy, the new ballpark out there is going to be incredible. That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me. It waited long enough. I'll tell you that much, guys. Las Vegas is eventually going to have some problems. No, I did not meet Frank Ballesteri. I didn't meet anybody from Milwaukee other than Phil Aldericio, which really he wasn't from Milwaukee. He just went up there. I think he was up there to box. Jim Jagger, hey, Red. If the outfit had decided to kill Frank Schweiss, who do you think they would have assigned to kill him? They would have given it to a crew boss who would have, they would have had to get the okay from the top. So, guess, depends on which era. Joey Ayupa might have given it to, I don't know. At one time, Harry Ailman Probably the same guys that he clipped. I don't know if they give it to Jim. That's a good question. Justin Mason, who has the best Italian beef in Chicago? The best. I can't say that. I can't say that the best. Johnny's beef is good. It's very good. But there's a couple of them that are good. I mean, 2 or 3. Chicago Italian beef is Chicago Italian beef. That's like saying, you know, I don't know. It's like saying which is the best General Motors car that's made. That's the one that I was thinking of, George. Johnny's on North Avenue. They were good when I was there. Always liked them. Anyway, I want to thank you folks for stopping by and try and have a good week. I'm supposed to be doing a show with Adam. Yes, Joe, you're right, Joseph. It all depends on the yeah, each one they're a little bit different. And sometimes they're different in their batches too. Thank you, Lisa B. Thank all of you for stopping by. It was great to see you, and we'll see you next week. God bless you, and goodbye.
The combination of the videotapes and Wemette's testimony resulted in the conviction of 2 men on extortion charges. One of them was Frank Schweiz, known in syndicate circles as the German, a feared mob terrorist and a suspect in a number of gangland murders.
He was described to me by other outfit individuals as the most feared hitman. And as he said to me, my reputation precedes me, son.